Many years ago, Retro Liberty had an episode called Convinced, where they would choose games from their past, read the back cover, and ask themselves if they'd be convinced to buy, rent the game. BITD. I don't know what that means. But you have...
Back in the day.
Thank you. But do you have a similar fond memory of renting / buying a title based on the box alone?
I mean, I think me and you, that's kind of just like almost identical to beer. The number of games I would rent strictly based on cover art. As a kid, I'll be honest, I probably didn't spend as much time as I should have reading the back label. It was really that front cover. Like the cover art needed to be so critical in what you were buying, what you were renting before the internet, because what else did you have it to base on? Unless you were subscribed to, Nintendo Power or whatever gaming magazine was available.
Right.
You had no frame of reference unless a friend told you about a game. So a lot of times I would just be sold, and me being into horror, like I would get roped into any game that had monsters or whatever on the cover. And sometimes I was pleased. Other times I was like, this game sucked. But, yeah, one cover, and it's a game I've talked about before that definitely sold me, was Time Lord on the NES. I love that game. I still love that game. I don't think it's aged as well, and maybe in the future, if we do a special month of my games that aren't horror games,
right,
I'll pick that. It's just the cover was just nutty, and I remember looking at it, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of up my alley. It's like all kinds of weird shit. So, yeah, that was an easy selling point for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Urban Strike on the Genesis, and it was on the Super NES too. And, I remember, not so much straight up because of the cover, but the cover is awesome because it's just a helicopter running away from an explosion, shooting missiles and guns, which more can you need? And then you look at the back cover, and every single screenshot is covered in explosions. So basically, I remember playing Jungle Strike over a friend's place, maybe...
Urban Strike?
No, like the whole series. Like the first one was Jungle Strike. So I played Jungle Strike, and then I picked this up. I was at it was like the late 90s, and it was at a weird discount bulk store. And I saw it there, and I was like, oh shit, a Genesis game. I was like, oh shit, urban helicopter shooting game. I remember this. And then when you see, an Apache flying away from an explosion, how can you not buy it for that alone? So that's definitely one of those ones that sticks out of my mind a lot.
Jim, I gotta say, I don't mean to criticize you so much.
Here we go.
But you don't think that cover is a little generic? I mean, an airplane with explosions, which is essentially what it is.
It's running from an explosion, and it's shooting a missile to make its own explosion.
All right, Jim.
Or I'll say Road Rash. I could have said Road Rash, too, with, two guys fighting each other.
That would have been a little more original.
This is almost a recurring bit for me, where you like my second answer way more than my first answer, with, every question.
Because your first answer, you're Barry Horowitz at the end of the day. You're that guy. You slap yourself on the
my
back
right as we speak, motherfucker. Slapping it right now.
I mean, listen, Jim. You and I, we've been friends long enough to know you sometimes throw out things out there that you need a second chance on many things in your life, and it's just start using that. Go with your initial thought, and then say, okay, we know this is gonna be terrible. Let me say a second thing. You son of a bitch.
Except for that time I started with Mexico and then went to Brazil, and then you hated me. I was right.
What's the next question, Jim?
Well, the next